Welcome back to Talking to Teachers, presented by CBA's Digital Network. My name is Nicholas Harari, and I'm here with Ms. Heidelberger, an AP Physics, Honors Physics, and Print Engineering teacher. Ms. Heidelberger, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Nick. How are you?
I am doing all right. Since we are officially in the Christmas season, I'm a big Christmas fan. What do you have planned for this abnormally long
You didn't
break?
wear your Christmas sweater today. It's
not.
Christmas sweater day.
I know. I actually don't have a Christmas sweater at home, or they've all outgrown. I've outgrown all of them.
So this Christmas break, I am planning on going away with my kids.
That's awesome.
So we're taking a week between Christmas and New Year's, and it's kind of nice because 3 of my kids have graduated college, so they don't live home anymore. I only have 1 kid still living home. So it's really nice that we're all going to get to go and have a vacation together.
Where are you guys going?
We're going to go up to Smuggler's Notch in Vermont.
Ooh.
So get to do some skiing, get to do some board games, just kind of relax for a week.
That's awesome.
And they're all bringing their significant others.
Oh, okay. So that'll be very fun.
That'll be fun, yeah.
That's awesome.
So it'll be really cool.
Yeah, I'll be cuddling up on the couch with some hot cocoa, watching some Home Alone. I love those classic Christmas movies that just I do watch that all Christmas. I think we're going to New York.
Oh, that's fun.
Going ice skating and
all the touristy things, even though we live so close.
I know. We do it every year. It's just become a tradition.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay. So back on to the topic of teaching. Outside of teaching physics, what are you involved in at CBA?
Well, at CBA, I do a bunch of different things. So I do some things within the engineering space, and I do engineering club. We meet during enrichment. So that piece I do. I also moderate inclusivity club. So I think it's important that we recognize that everybody brings different strengths to humanity, and that we kind of celebrate that. And then, of course, I spend a lot of my time doing Pegasus productions. So in Pegasus, I am one of the assistant directors, and I'm also in charge of costumes and art.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
What was your favorite part of being, I guess, a Pegasus co-director?
So it's really cool. Pegasus, our model is student run. So the adults are there just to really help and guide the students. So we get to really see the students kind of develop over time and use their strengths. So it's fun to watch people start as a freshman and see how they're graduating as seniors and all the kind of skills that they've developed along the way. And a lot of them are life skills.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That part's really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And also, would you mind explaining your origin story to CBA and how you ended up teaching here?
Okay, so I have a wacky origin story, and it's 2-pronged.
Okay.
So the first part of my origin story is when I was a little teeny tiny kid. And when I was really little, my dad started teaching here.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I was before preschool. So okay. I was a little teeny tiny one. And my dad started teaching at CBA. So I have been wandering the school since before the science wing was even built.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I have spent most of my life around here. My dad also coached basketball. So I spent a lot of time at school in the gym, at basketball camp. I helped out with basketball camp then when I had my own kids.
That's awesome.
So I've been part of CBA for a really long time and most of my life. But I didn't teach here to start. So I actually started out my career as an engineer. So I have a chemical engineering degree, and I started working as an engineer before I had my kids.
Oh, wow.
And then when I had my kids, it was really hard to balance working full-time as an engineer and being a mom. So I went back to grad school, and I got my master's in teaching. One of my children has a bunch of learning disabilities, so I found the learning process really interesting. So that kind of led me to go back for my master's.
Of course.
So, and then when I started teaching in preschool.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
So, I taught preschool for 2 years. So I taught at St. Leo's, just right down the road. And I then moved to first grade. And I spent 8 years teaching in first grade. So, and then I went from first grade to CBA. And I came here and I started teaching chemistry.
How was that transition?
It's interesting because it's not as big a transition as you'd expect. It was nice because I didn't have to like tie anyone's shoes anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone was pretty self-sufficient in the high school level.
I would hope.
But teaching is still teaching and classrooms are still classrooms, and it's not as different as you would actually kind of think. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's this kind of stereotype that like if you're a kindergarten teacher or you're a like college professor, I mean it's a little bit different, but I'm sure, in all of the classes you are teaching something to someone.
And you're still preparing and you're looking at your students holistically and seeing where their strengths are and where they need to develop and kind of working around that. The material is quite different though. So didn't teach physics to first graders, although we did do a lot of science.
Yeah,
The coolest part about it has been having students again. I've had a number of students that I taught in first grade that I've then gotten to teach in high school.
That's awesome.
And that's really fun, just to
see
kind
how
of
they've
see.
developed.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And then to write a college recommendation and talk about how like you first taught them as a first grader is really kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And engineering, did you do that around here or were you out of state?
I did. I grew up in Monmouth County, so obviously my dad taught here, so I grew up in this area. So I worked at Exxon. I worked in the refinery for the chemicals company, like on the turnpike, the big equipment, like work boots and hard hat, and like out on the large equipment all day. And exactly, it was really cool.
Yeah,
I really liked that no 2 days were the same, and I got to do a lot of really interesting things. The product that I made was FDA approved, so we had. And it was also kosher certified. Oh. So we had a lot of cool pieces with that, being that it was something that could be ingested.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, what has been your favorite memory here teaching at CBA?
All right, so truthfully, and this is going to be really biased, and that's okay, I got to teach my son. So my son graduated CBA in 2019, and I didn't teach him all along, but his senior year, he opted to take engineering. And I'm the only teacher that teaches it, so he was in my class for that. So teaching him was just really, really kind of a cool experience to see him in a different light. So again, it's biased, but it is a pretty cool opportunity.
Think it's so unique that like not many teachers get that opportunity to actually teach their own kids. We have another case, Connor.
Right.
His father is one of the physics teachers, but they're not in class together.
Yeah, well, Connor's in my class, but exactly, which is fun, exactly. Yeah. But my son then went on to do engineering. He just graduated. He just graduated as an engineer, and he's working. So
runs in the family.
It does, and he was able to then like tell me what worked really well with the class, what was the best parts that helped him the most in college. So that was kind of cool too to get the feedback.
Did you load him up on homework?
Yeah, he did more homework than any. Well, I don't give homework in that class, really. They're seniors.
Yeah.
He did more work in that class than anyone else. Because how do you not, like, do really well on your mom's test?
Yeah,
like, knowing your mom is grading you is kind of,
Ooh, well, I'd feel a lot of pressure on
I think he did too, unfortunately. But it was okay. It worked out.
That's awesome. That's such a unique experience.
It really is, and I didn't know that I'd ever have the opportunity to teach my own kids. I've taught my nephews, so I got to teach 2 of my nephews in first grade, so I got to teach them how to read, and then I actually taught 2 of my nephews in high school as well.
That's awesome,
which is kind of cool.
Man, that's awesome.
Yep.
And outside of school, what hobbies do you have or family activities?
So I like to make things. So I guess like as an engineer, I'm always thinking about how things work. So most of my hobbies surround making things. So I do a lot of home improvements. So I built my mantle in my living room. This winter break, I'm going to tile the backsplash in my kitchen. So things like that I do. I also do a lot of more traditional crafty things. I sew, I knit, I crochet, all of those kinds of hobbies.
That's
So
awesome.
I also am huge into just like walking. On the
Nature walks.
On the weekends, I'll
Yeah.
go for like 4-mile walks each day.
Oh, that's awesome.
So different friends will, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I used to run a lot, and I'd run just to like observe the nature. We have a trail right by me, the Hudson Trail. and
Okay. Oh, yeah, that one's pretty.
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
running on that trail, just like taking in.
Well, the area that we live in, we've got so many really nice spots.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
we're pretty, like, my house is 10 minutes from the water. I can bike there.
Right. And
So,
it is fun just to
Yeah,
kind of
it's
walk
awesome.
and see the water. Yeah.
And my last question for you,
Okay.
big one. I've asked all the teachers.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. If you could give any advice to the student body and faculty, what would that be?
All right. So I think the advice I typically give to my seniors is because they're going off to college, right? And I kind of feel like, I don't know, I'm a mom, I have 4 kids. I kind of feel like I feel kind of motherly towards my students at some point. And I typically remind them that they're in a unique spot, that their families have really set them up to decide their own futures. And they really get to decide as much work as you put into your school, into just learning in general. You are rewarded within your life. You can really pick whatever you want to do with your life.
Yeah.
And this is a tremendous opportunity that you have. Your grades shouldn't matter to anyone except
Yourself,
you,
yeah.
right? Because you're really developing who you're becoming as an independent person.
Yeah, I feel like it's that, what you put in is what you get.
Exactly.
So, of course, if you're going to choose not to study for a test, you're not going to do well. But that also translates to later in life. Like, if you're going to put in that work in a job, you're going to succeed and move up in those positions. And I guess just that opportunity to be able to experience that being here as well.
Right. And grades aren't everything. Sometimes it's good to push yourself and take a class that you're super interested in, that your grades might be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Like in college, you get the opportunity to choose all sorts of cool classes.
Yeah, of course.
So, and sometimes the actual grade that you get isn't as important as the experience that you take away from the class.
I could not agree with that more. Yeah, I feel like I'm always so focused on the number. But
It's hard not to be, but it's ultimately not the most important thing in life.
Because 10 years from now, when you're like, oh, what'd you get in your
Right, exactly.
freshman? I don't even remember what my freshman grades were.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
and you're
so.
still succeeding as a junior.
Yeah.
So obviously your freshman year still prepared you for where you are now.
Correct. Yeah, that's awesome. But it was truly a pleasure to have you today. Actually, one of my favorite first talking to teachers. I just feel like you're just so well-rounded, and you just, have a lot, like, the fact that you taught your own son, like, I think that's just, like, awesome. But it was truly a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And that is all for now. We will see you next time.